Happy New Year, kicking off 2025 on GotAUkulele with a much loved ukulele brand. Keep watching. It is 2025. Happy New Year. GotAUkulele returns after quite a long break, back ready to kick off into 2025 for a whole new year of ukulele reviews and more summary video reviews like this one, which accompanies the full written review, which you'll always find linked below and on the website. Also some links down there where you can do what these people have done. I've been away for 3 weeks, so there's quite a few thank yous to make, and these are people who throw me a tip, bought me a beer, joined the Patreon, that kind of stuff, to say thank you for the content and help support it going forward, because I do not charge brands, stores, anybody to do reviews like some reviewers do. That would just be paid product placement. I want to keep these completely independent. I don't work for anybody, and these people allow me to keep doing that and buy things like this one today and keep it completely independent. If you want to do that, you'll find some links below. You can also help me out for nothing by subscribing to the YouTube channel. That helps get the visibility of the channel up as well. And if you hit the bell symbol there, you'll get notified about new stuff coming your way. Yeah, this week, good to be back. Good to be back. And this one, a very well-liked ukulele brand, featured probably as much as any other on the website in the reviews. I've done loads and loads of them. But in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, probably much more at the higher end, mid to higher end stuff, you know, hundreds of pounds up to thousands of pounds, as opposed to entry level things. And I thought about 2025, and I want to try and feature more, not solely, but more beginner instruments. And this brand, everybody knows them, but equally they have this huge range behind them of all price points, and they don't really shout a lot about their really cheaper ones, but they do exist. And the brand, you all know, let's get into it, is Flight, and this is the Flight DUS322 Zebrawood Soprano in their designer series, and it's an entry level Flight, and it's a soprano, and it's all laminate wood. It's all laminate Zebrawood. Now, I have been quite dismissive years ago about Zebrawood because everyone was using it, and when I say everyone, I mean all those faceless Amazon brands I tell you to avoid. Everyone was slapping Zebrawood on everything. It was everywhere, and I got really sick of it. I haven't seen that for a while, and in fact, I can't remember when I last saw a Zebrawood uke, and it's a nice wood, actually. And I think after that sort of flurry, it's calmed down, and I've grown back to like it a little bit more. It's not really my cup of tea, but there we are, all laminate Zebrawood. 2 pieces of it on the top, back and side, slightly unusual for a soprano because it's so small you don't need 2 pieces, but with this stripe you kind of do want the 2 pieces so you can get some sort of book matching on it. It's not perfect book matching, but it works with the stripe. It gives it that little bit more interest. It's not too severe on the stripe. I've seen some of these look like a zebra crossing. I quite like it's kind of a warm stripe to this example. It's quite nice, isn't it? It sort of brought me back. But the other thing I like about this is when I come on to the decor. But we'll move on, and we've got to do the bridge first. The bridge is made of walnut. Sorry about the brightness of the light again. Walnut bridge. It's a tie bar. If this is a soprano, I'd rather a slot bridge. Partly practically because they're easier for string changes, but they take up less real estate on the top of the instrument. Okay, this isn't a huge tie bar, but just a slot bridge would only be that big. Okay, that's a kind of minor gripe, isn't it? It's tidy though, and what is surprising is it's fitted for the price when we come onto it with a compensated top bone saddle. So you don't often see a lot of bone. You see plastic a lot at the cheaper end. Bone saddle. The decor, as I was saying, a lot of those faceless Amazon brands I talked about will slap loads of abalone on this. So this is already a striking wood, and they'll slap loads of abalone and glitter and mother of toilet seat and all that stuff on it. And I think it spoils them. They've gone really subtle here. Just wooden edge binding to the top and back, which kind of pairs in with the warmth of that Zebrawood. Looks really nice. And the sound hole rosette is also wooden and inlaid. And I think that's really classy, and I think it works with the stripe very well. I like that. And then the body is finished in an open pore satin, which is simple, nice and thin, no pooling, no marks, no areas that are bare patches, and it's nice. It's a nice instrument, nicely finished, if Zebrawood is your thing. Inside, now I just want to say a word about inside because I've had some comments and discussion about this over the break. I put the camera inside these to show you what the bracing's like, what the kerfing is like, whether there's a tail block, that kind of stuff. That's practical, that's really important stuff. I also talk about how tidy they are inside, but that is... it's not, you shouldn't read too much into that. I have seen some very high-end instruments, sort of well over £1,000 with glue mess. Because it happens. It's an instrument. It's made with a pot of glue. Now, if it's really everywhere and they've splashed it left, right and centre, we'll really pick up on it. But if you look inside an instrument and see a bit of glue splodge coming out of the kerfing, as I can see down there, that's not a reason to reject the instrument. That's just a bit of glue. And maybe you should just ignore me saying that bit and focus on me talking about the bracing and the kerfing. Inside here, though, I can see a bit of glue, but generally speaking, it's very tidy in there. Simple little braces. It's a Soprano. There's not a lot to say. And the kerfing is notched. The top, really thin laminate. Really thin laminate. That's good. Good to see. It's not a big, thick laminate box, and a nice bit of a curve on the back as well. Okay, all good down here, all good down here. The neck is Akume wood. It is jointed at the heel and the headstock. You can see the heel one, they're pretty well hidden to be honest, the joints. And it's satin, which is really nice as well. It's not a neck for me, and this is just purely subjective, as I always say, but it's like a broom handle up here, round on the back, 34.5 nut width. 27 G2A, very, very generic, very, very skinny, and it just doesn't, they don't work for my fingers. Your mileage may vary, that's just a personal point. The fingerboard is more walnut. It's paler than I would like for a fingerboard, but it is in pretty good condition. Oh, it needs a bit of a sand down there, but I'm not going to get, oh, it's gone, it was just a little bit of fluff. It's pretty tidy, very tidy in fact, and surprising to see, it's either edge bound in wood, or these are slotted, I think they may be slotted frets that don't reach the end, so you get no fret tangs on the edges, which is nice. But if you're going to do that, how do you still make your frets sharp? Because this is not the worst I've ever seen, by any means, but I can feel the fret ends. They're not, they need dressing, they still need dressing. So that's a bit of a shame. They are not the worst I've ever seen, felt. A very standard 12 of those to the body, and very standard position dots for a Soprano as well, 5, 7 and 10, and side dots on the side as well. So that's, the nut width subjectively is not for me. I don't like the sharp frets, but it's otherwise pretty tidy. It's a bone nut, and incidentally the setup on this one, as I say, I bought this, so I bought it from a non-ukulele specialist, so just a generic music store who were unlikely to have taken it out of the box, a drop shipper, and it arrived really good actually. The setup above the 12th is 2.5 mil, so that's bang on where I'd want it, bang in the middle, and whilst I take the nut down very slightly, that's personal preference, and it's certainly within tolerances, so this is really nice on the setup. The headstock is a generic crown faced in more of the Zebrawood. It's got that motif thing laser etched into it. I don't like laser etching at the best of times, but I find it also gets a little bit confused by the stripe. I don't think it needs to be there, to be honest. And the flight logo is also laser etched. Don't like those. I don't like those. Now, on the subjective side, I don't like gears full stop on a Soprano. They look like ears, too much weight. Give me rear-facing friction pegs. But if you're going to put gears on a Soprano, ignore these covers. These peel off. They're just for protection. If you're going to put gears on a Soprano, don't give me sealed guitar-style gears. Really, really chunky. Again, that's partly subjective. What's not subjective is the fact these are all completely different tensions, and one of them's got a horrible grind in it at a certain point when you turn it. That's just not good. They're not good tuners, they're cheap. What else do you get? You get Ukulele strings, you get a strap button in the tail. I don't know you need a strap button on a Soprano, but there we are. And you get a padded gig bag with the flight branding on it. Now, this is not as good as their red padded gig bags, which they're famous for, but it is better than a lot of the padded gig bags you get at this lower price point, and some instruments you don't even get a padded gig bag at all, so that's nice. And the price, as I say, we are talking lower end. Hal Leonard and Music Room have these up, which is their main distributor, at £85 in the UK, which isn't a lot of money, but actually you see them discounted down to about £70 to £75 in lots of places, which is even better. Okay, it's not the cheapest Soprano, and you can do much cheaper on places like Amazon, but also with brands like Octopus and whatnot. But it is kind of exactly in the same ballpark as things like the Carla KAS, the Ohana SK10, very reliable workhorse Sopranos, which were a lot of people's first instruments. So I can understand the price, and this has better looks than those with this Zebrano and the wooden binding and things like that. It's a more finished instrument. So I think the price and the value for money is very, very good indeed. It certainly doesn't concern me in the slightest. It's not a lot of money, is it? 70 odd quid. And as I say, built very well, finished very well. The looks, surprisingly, even though Zebrawood's not for me, I rather like how sort of warm this looks. I don't like the fingerboard, the nut width and the sharp fret ends, but otherwise that's pretty tidy. And it's overall a reliable, comfortable little thing. It's not heavy, 465 grams, and despite those guitar style tuners, there's a bit of dip towards the headstock, but it's very, very slight. It's balanced basically, so it's comfortable to hold. A nice little simple Soprano. Well, it's not simple. We've got all of this isn't simple. And you're listening to the tone now. I'm going to leave this clip-on tuner clipped on because I haven't had a whole lot of play with this one, with my break, so the strings are probably still settling a bit. Basics first, the volume. On the face of it, that's a bark, but I'm really hitting it with my long nails. It isn't, a lot of Sopranos have bark, even the little brightly painted boxes. It's kind of down the middle really. It's not the loudest Soprano I've played, but it's not the quietest. But what I really do like is that sustain. Now, you never get a load of sustain with Soprano, and there isn't huge sustain here, but there is sustain. That is quite quick, but there's enough to put a little bit of frill into your playing. Yeah, that's alright, okay, but you're hearing the tone now, and it's not a tone it's not for me. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's too bright for me. I like mahogany Sopranos for that darker, because Sopranos are naturally peppier and brighter. Certainly peppy, jangly. I mean, that's what you want from a Soprano. It's a staccato rhythmical instrument, and that's very passable, and it works, and it plays accurately as well. It's got a little bit of that echoey thing that goes on with cheaper laminates. It's not rounded in the tone, it's got kind of a little bit of a brittle edge to it, but again, I'm being really nitpicky because keep remembering that price. And finger picking, again, it goes a little bit more generic and echoey. It works. It's not a Kamaka. It's not £1,000 solid wood, solid koa soprano. It's a 70 to 80 quid laminate instrument. And it's very reliable. It's, you know, think about those Ohanas, the Carlas, at that sort of money. It's certainly punching in the right category. It's as good as them, if not better on the looks. It's absolutely a sensible purchase for a first-time soprano player, a first-time ukulele player, a child, a nephew and niece. I wouldn't think twice about spending this sort of money if somebody said, buy me a soprano. Because it's good. It's a good, reliable little peppy, start you on your ukulele journey, soprano ukulele, but with some nice looks to it as well. Yeah, I like that one. I'm glad I kicked off the year with that. As I say, I'm going to try and fit in more absolute beginner ukes, and not just the Amazon stuff, I mean other stuff as well. And it's nice that Flight are offering right across the range, not just all the high-end glitzy bells and whistles stuff. The Flight DUS322 kicks off 2025. It's an old instrument, but it's worth looking at. Anyone you know looking at starting or wanting their first soprano, pick one up for 75 quid. Throw it in the car. Good little instrument. Nice little thing. DUS322. Right, it's good to be back. That was all a bit sort of garbled and very long as well, because I'm out of practice with these. But I am good to be back and kicking off 2025. A whole range of instruments for you coming up. I think I'm booked up now to the end of March, would you believe? And here we are at the start of January. That's crazy. I've got so many boxes downstairs, so it looks like it's going to be a busy year, potentially. So there we are. I am back next week. I will see you all very soon. Missed you. And hope you are all well and stay well in this cold weather if you're in the UK. And I'll see you soon. Rambling. Bye-bye. See ya. Bye.